Morning, Lauren. Evening, Grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. A good Monday to you. I'm joined from Israel by Ambassador Michael Oren. Dr. Oren was the ambassador of Israel to the United States for many years, author of many books, an accomplished historian, the guy that we turn to for the bigger questions. And now that the war has sort of ended, and I use that advisedly, Dr. Oren, sort of ended, I wanted to ask you a bigger question, which is what you think is going to happen to the international Jewish population in an age of globalized intifada. Do you expect a lot more Jews living abroad to make Aliyah as you did so many years ago and make Israel their home? Is that going to go through the roof now?
Well, you've seen now that there's not huge campus encampments anymore. There's not huge demonstrations, at least not in the United States, still in Europe. And the left is already moving on to the next issue, which is ICE and immigration. Those are the big issues now. The attention span of the radical left has grown shorter and shorter over the years. You know, it was like maybe it was about 5 years for climate change, 3 years for Me Too, 2 years for Black Lives Matter. Now you're about to really just less than 2 years for Palestine. But the difference between Palestine and all these other, fads of the left was that Palestinian activism drew on 2,000 years of anti-Semitism. And the anti-Semitism is not going away. So I travel around the Jewish world. Recently been in Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia. And the Jewish communities there really feel that they may not have a future there, particularly in Australia, which is quite tragic. The Australian Jewish community really came with the first British immigrants/convicts who came to Australia at the end of the 18th century. Very deep, very successful community. They feel like they have no future there, simply by demographics. And that's true of other communities too. I was just in Canada a couple of weeks ago, and you heard very similar things from Canadian Jews. And so, yes, it's not like Canadian Jews or Australian Jews think, oh, I'm going to move to New York. It's going to be better because there in New York, I'm going to run into Mayor Mamdani. So they really have not that much choice. So many more Jews may be thinking of moving to Israel. They'd rather deal with Hamas and Hezbollah than deal with anti-Semites blowing up their synagogues in Melbourne.
What is the biggest obstacle to a diaspora Jew moving to Israel? Is it the cost of housing, or is it the paperwork, or what is it? What is it? A mental obstacle? You've done it, so you know.
Yeah, but it's cultural. You're moving to a foreign country. You're moving to a foreign country that can be, a little rough sometimes, and it's certainly a different language if you don't know Hebrew. And your kids will go into the army here. They may not be going to the army for living in Connecticut or living in Sydney. There are, the taxes are high, but the taxes are high in Scandinavia too. But there are many, many advantages. There's the universal healthcare system, the very good infrastructure. Universities, you get a class A university education for about $10,000 here. So you have these things, but it's difficult. It's a challenge, Hugh, and it definitely is.
Now, it's also a superpower, like the United States. The advantage to living in the United States and China, and I don't see much of an advantage to the latter, but in the United States, it's a superpower. Yeah. We are clearly, well, Israel is a superpower now, and I don't know if Israelis realize that, but do diaspora Jews realize you can pick America or you can pick Israel, but in either place you have a fighting chance of not being killed unless you go to New York City or someplace like that. Other places, I don't know if you can say that about. Yeah, very. What about London? Would you live in London now?
No, I would definitely not live in London. I can't think of any place I'd rather live right here. I don't know if you saw this, but I wrote an open letter to New York Jews last week about the Mamdani election.
Tell me about it.
And between 37 and 40% of New York Jews, according to polls, are going to vote for Mamdani. Wow. And I wanted to be very clear what it meant to vote for this man, for a Jew, for an American Jew. And to understand that this man wants to take everything you see behind me, my house, my family, my neighborhood, my city, my country, and erase it off the map. And he's not particularly choosy about the way that would happen. He's talking about globalizing the intifada. What is the intifada? It kills Jews. And I've never heard him say that Israel has the right certainly to exist or even the right to defend itself. And what begins with denying the Jewish state the right to defend itself is going to end up being denying the right of American Jews to defend themselves. And I want to see what happens.
Ambassador, what did you say? Did you say 37 to 40% are going to New York Jews are going to vote for Mamdani? Really?
Yep.
That's suicidal.
It is
I'm
indeed.
writing a column tomorrow for Fox making a very basic argument, which is New York City's got 300,000 employees. 300,000 employees. And Mamdani has run an office of 10 people for 6 years. Can you imagine voting for someone to run an organization of 300,000 who's operated an operation of 10 for 6 years? It's insane.
Well, well. He's charismatic. He's well spoken. He's promising a lot of free stuff to people, and people want free stuff. But quite apart from his socialism and his lack of experience, any experience to be the mayor of the most dynamic and powerful city on earth, is the hatefulness toward Jews, hateful toward Israel. This is totally central to his worldview. It's not peripheral. He cut his teeth. He said, I became politically active through Students for Justice of Palestine. It is what he's about. Does he care about Russia invading Ukraine? No. Does he care about a million Muslims being put in concentration camps in China? No. Right? Does he care about oppression elsewhere in the Muslim world? How about the Taliban and women? Right? Does he care about that? No. He cares about one thing and one thing only, and that is the Jewish state, the world's only Jewish state. And
Well,
he
he
wants
was
to
raised
erase
by
it.
a radical father. His father is a radical. I have done a little
So
reading
is his
on his
mother.
dad's work, and so, like father, like son, yeah, they will vote for that. Let me go back to Israel, though, for a moment. In terms of looking forward, does it feel like peace to you and to your neighbors? Does it feel like you can exhale?
I'm smiling because this is about the fifth or sixth time I've been asked that question today, including by Israelis, by the way. And it is probably it's a fact. It's the most frequently asked question here. Does it feel like peace? It feels like relief, great relief. I would say vast relief for the return of the hostages. But there are still hostages who haven't been returned. Deceased hostages, but they haven't been returned. And those families are under exquisite pain. And there are tremendous, unknowns. We don't know whether the United States can move toward the next phase of the 20 points, disarming Hamas, how that would be done. We're in a rather unique situation where we have American soldiers on our soil together with troops from some very sometimes hostile countries like France and Spain. Spain's been an anti-Semitic country. We've got troops from Spain here, and Jordan, who are actually monitoring the IDF. So it's the first time it's ever happened in our history. And we don't know quite
So,
the ramifications of this part yet.
so I heard
And
Nadav
whether
Eyal tell Dan Senor that more than 90% of Israelis have returned to their homes in the north, and about 75% of Israelis who were displaced by the initial invasion in the south have returned to their homes. When I say, does it feel like peace? I'm really asking, is Israel back to the Israel I visited a couple of times and you can go from north to south and not really worry about anything and just enjoy a remarkable land? Is that back?
yes, that is back. That is back. The cafes are full. We're waiting for the tourists to come back. We're already starting to get tourists back. It just happened just literally within a week. International airlines are renewing their flights to and from Tel Aviv. All of that is yes. And Israel today is more secure than it's probably ever been. And we have to acknowledge that. I met a group of people from Chicago last night to whom I had spoken at the end of October in 2023. And I remember getting up in front of this audience in
Oh,
Chicago, and I think I was half dazed and discussing what we were facing both in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Iran, with the Syrian and Iraqi militias, with the Houthi rebels. And I said to this group last night, could you imagine in your wildest dreams on that night that I spoke to you in Chicago in October 2023, you imagine we'd be sitting here tonight and looking at how the Middle East has been radically transformed and what the possibilities of transformation are even greater now. We could have peace with Lebanon, peace with Syria, peace maybe even with Iran, but certainly peace with Saudi Arabia. And through Saudi Arabia, peace with the entire Sunni world. Who would have imagined that in their wildest
that
dreams
is
in October 2023? And
it
we
is
had to take that moment
miraculous.
just to really internalize that.
Yeah. That's miraculous. It's wonderful. And I hope the whole world understands this is a much better place to be than we were 2 years ago. Dr. Michael Oren, thank you. Follow him on X at Dr. Michael
Always
Oren,
good.
Ambassador.